Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4. Aggressive mining is a card.
Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4. I found play for it in Zetaru.
It's a mic check 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a Master of Predicaments war. Greetings, one and all. This is your favorite Commander podcast, once again, the MTG Thoughtcast. My name is John, and I will be your cat in the hat for this evening, and I'm joined by my favorite Thing 1 and Thing 2, Chase Fisher and Chase Bobier.
Hi.
How's it going? How's it going, guys? Oh, that was fantastic.
Thank you. I worked really hard on thinking that up real fast on the fly. As you can tell, Joseph's not here with us this evening, so I've been put on the spot to make sure we're doing the intro correctly. And that intro includes making sure that we thank all of you. Thank you so much. We appreciate all of you, and you always can come be a part of our community, like these two weirdos that I've brought along with me tonight.
Hi.
It's a wonderful place to be. Wonderful, wonderful place to be. Full of people weird and not weird. Who knows?
Come be a part of the weirdos with us over at our Discord channel that we have. We've been chatting up all kinds of new things, like the either already out or upcoming Aether Drift, the soon to be coming out or is already out as well, like Innistrad Remastered is we're all talking about. We've been playing Commander games lately and things like that. Tons of fun. We have lots of fun there. Magic chat, deck building advice, memes. If you love it, you're here for it. Come join in with us. Totally free. We don't want your money. We just want you to like us. How else can you like us? Well, it's those jingly little buttons down at the bottom of the video or the 5 stars on Spotify, which we appreciate every single one of you who do give us that support in that manner. I love replying to comments on YouTube. I know Joseph is usually up pretty early in the day. He always answers those out. And these two, wherever they are probably like
somewhere on the screen. Whether it's here, there, you don't know.
Yeah, they're some of our best commenters, and you know, that's why we're here. We're back with another community episode.
Yes, very happy to be here. Always a fun time to record a podcast and get to talk about our favorite card game.
Always happy to know I didn't do such a bad job last time that I got
We
got invited back.
Yeah. We keep inviting you back, so must be doing something right. But to everybody, thank you. So, what are we talking about today with this community episode? Well, I figured with the opportunity of bringing in some external assistants to help me with an episode, we're going to dive into one of my favorite subsets of cards that have been done in the game before and talk about their application 10 years on into the Commander format. And that is going to be the Designer Series cards from Core Set 2015. Gentlemen, do you guys, in your research on some of these, have you seen most of these cards at all floating around in our format?
I have seen 4 of these.
Yeah, I have only seen maybe 3, maybe 4 of them. I would say 4. I haven't played against a lot of zombies, but you know, I've heard of the card.
I've seen 3 in play. The 4th one, I have several copies in my collection and have never really had a place to use it.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar on that as well. Like reading through these here, like I think at one point I've probably have played most of these floating around. I own several copies of some of these as well, and I think they're all really, really neat. To give context there of what we're talking about, if you're not quite familiar on what this is that we're describing here, Magic Core Set 2015 had this very funky, like, I'm not sure, like, the reasoning why they did what they did. It must have been some kind of, like, anniversary thing, maybe, But they brought in, or rather they sent out, design ideas to a bunch of external, mostly game designers is what all these people end up boiling down to. A bunch of different game designers from very popular and well-loved companies and franchises got the go-ahead to do a design for some cards. And the cards themselves, at varieties of rarity from uncommon to rare, were put into the core set of Core 2015, which came out in June 2014, because core sets used to work off of, like, car modeling, which is dumb.
Confusing.
Yeah. And
Lovely.
and they did this cool thing that every single one of the cards that were designed by people outside of Wizards, a little recognition flavor text at the bottom says who it was designed by. So thus these 15 cards became known as the Designer Series. And I genuinely think these are a very cool collection of cards. Playable? Depends. Some are better than others, and that's what we're here to evaluate today. These cards are from their original printings. They're pushing to be a little over 10 years old now at this point. So over the last decade of Commander, which has changed dramatically since the days of 2014, 2015, have any of these gotten better, or have they gotten worse? And that's what we're here to evaluate today. And I'll get us started with probably the weirdest one on this entire list: aggressive mining. So this funky red enchantment is 3 and a red. It's for an enchantment. I said that. You can't play lands. And an activated ability of sacrifice a land, draw 2 cards. Activate this ability only once each turn.
Oh,
Wow.
So
4 mana for that, by the way.
Yeah.
4 mana.
mana.
4 mana to get down. This card has only ever had the one printing here in Core 15. Its original designer was Marcus Persson, who is sometimes otherwise known online as Notch, the original game developer behind Minecraft. Which you can see.
You can see. Yeah,
it.
it's very, very cubic in its art.
You can see on the card art that there was very clear inspiration behind this.
It's
designer.
the original secret lair.
The original secret lair.
Literally, literally.
I can leave.
Yeah. Gentlemen, what do you think about turning lands into card advantage?
I love the idea. And when I first read it, like, I didn't clock the once a turn thing. So I was thinking in the case of a couple of Rakdos decks that I have that, like, hinge on this, like, one last big turn, like, oh yeah, set this up turn before, Final Fortune, next turn just ban all my lands, draw a bunch of cards. But that once each turn thing is rough.
It is, for what it's worth. It's once each turn, so you can do it on opponent's turn.
Yeah, but then you can't play anymore.
Yeah,
and that's where I came in with mine. It seems like it's really difficult to just not be able to play lands. Like, that's how you play the game of Magic. Is you play lands. But the idea that I thought of is, what if you could just play it and then give it to somebody else?
That's immediately where my notes went to. Yeah, we have a variety of cards, commanders that have red in their identity. The original classic one I was thinking of was Zedger the Greathearted.
Yes.
I was also thinking of Blim, Comedic Genius, who's kind of a Rakdos version of Zedger.
Yeah.
Both of these kinds of cards, and I'm sure there are a few others that I'm just not immediately thinking of, but cards in red that do the donate thing.
Gotcha.
Taking
like a generous gift, I believe.
Harmless Offering, you're thinking of.
That's the one. Yeah,
harmless Offering, Zer's Weirding, Role Reversal, all this kind of stuff that is allowing you to exchange permanents or give a permanent over to somebody. That's where this card really shines. Like, can you imagine a Spellslinger's deck that drops aggressive mining and then does Role Reversal, switches out this with somebody else's Rhystic Study?
Give it to the landfall player.
Give it to the landfall.
Yeah, give it to the landfall.
That's how you
can't play anymore.
No more lands for you.
Oh, you're playing Felidar Retreat? Please, have an aggressive mining.
Yeah.
Once a turn, you can bin a land and draw 2.
Ultimately, where this boils down to is if you plan to play this card in your deck, you have to consider the workarounds that you need to do. This obviously, this only does stop you from just physically playing a land. You can still do stuff like ramp, like mana rocks will still get you there, cultivates will still get you the lands that you need, rampant growth, stuff like that. Other abilities that just pull from your graveyard back into play without playing them, that's also cool too. Thinking like World Shaper, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So there's some very cool play that you can go with this, but if you're not set up correctly, this could be a card that costs you the game.
Yeah. For me, like looking at it, and particularly what it costs, so my notes is like, it would be more useful if it wasn't once a turn, and this effectively, to me, like the turn you play it boils down to 5 mana, draw 2. And even in like mono red, that's bad.
Yeah. So
that's tough.
On a ranking system, I'd probably give this like a C. Like, I don't think it's...
Oh, you're generous.
I don't think it's stone cold unplayable, but it is tough.
I put this in F.
Is it F for you? All right.
Yeah.
I gave it a C as well. And the reason why is I really thought about being able to give it to somebody else. And that's where it really stuck out. I originally had it as an F. And then I was going back through my notes, just, double checking things. I was like, wait a second, this could be cool. I got on EDA Track and was like, what commanders could this work with? And I saw giving it away to someone. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
That sounds cool. Let's do it.
Avarice Amulet. That is a 4 mana artifact. It's an equipment. The equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has vigilance. In the beginning of your turn, you draw a card, and it has equipped 2. And then when the equipped creature dies, target opponent gains control of Avarice Amulet.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Tricky one. Very, very tricky to work around.
This is... Yeah. What were you going to say, John?
Oh, I was just going to go over the fun facts, but if you have some more to say, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead the fun facts.
Okay, sure.
Let's hear 'em.
So this is another card that has only been printed once in this set. The original designers behind this is Penny Arcade. They are a webcomic based around pop culture video game icons. And specifically, this card is inspired and drawn after the webcomic has this running joke of a highly sought after Pac-Man keychain that all the nerds
want. I see it.
That's
with
why
the crack in the pendant.
That's why it has the crack in the
pendant. Oh, that is fun. That is
literal mind blown. That's really cool.
That's really cool.
So
that's the last cool thing about this card.
Yeah, that's why this does what it does. It's like if you have control,
goes around.
If you have control of it, you get a pretty big boon on your creature that it's equipped to.
Yeah.
But if that creature goes away, someone else is going to steal the amulet. It reminds me of Coveted Jewel a little bit from that Ixalan set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My thing is, okay, this costs 6 mana to get online, and then someone paths your creature.
Or not even necessarily path, which is like because it has to die.
It doesn't protect it. For 6 mana, the creature is not protected, like most of the baseline and commander equipment you think of. So someone casts murder on your creature, they get it, and now they just paid 2. You already sunk 4 into this, and you maybe never even got around to that draw trigger.
Right, because it doesn't do anything the turn you play it.
Yeah, this is like this requires such an upfront investment, and then it has to get all the way around. Like Coveted Jewel, at least you pay 6, you get 3 cards, and then get to tap it for 3 mana
immediately. Mm-hmm.
Immediately, like it is an immediate payoff. I've won games off of that. This sets you back a whole turn on turn 6.
I kind of think a little bit into like I don't think this is a great card by any means. I think it has a niche spot to be in, maybe in like some group huggy type stuff where you're trying to help people out if that's what you're wanting to do. But I think that it's very low on the totem pole. You'd probably rather be doing other things.
Yeah.
The other way I saw it was I was thinking of dog meat. Always thinking of dog meat. And if he's already got protection, like hexproof or something like that, this wouldn't be a horrible thing to have on one of the creatures there that is attacking, just so I am getting that extra card draw. Is it something that I would remove a card that's in that deck currently for? No. But I could see it having play in a very niche area that way.
I just wish the mana value on this was cheaper. I think if this was 2 to get down, 2 to equip, I think this would be very playable.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
that puts more incentive, obviously, on you, the player of it, to get it down and attach to something as fast as you can. This also incentivizes the opponent to try to kill it faster, because that is such a cheap investment as you, the caster, got into it. Vigilance 2-0 and extra cards is very, very strong. Yeah. So usually equipment like that has some kind of drawback behind it as well. So like that's what's on this card right here is like, oh, you could have this cheap equipment come down and you're getting card advantage out of it early, but at the risk of your opponent could get it later,
Yeah, definitely. And again, for me, it's like when I'm thinking of that, turn 6 mana slot, like those are cards that win games. Win an F for me.
Fish.
I gave it a D.
I would never see play in any of my decks ever.
Yeah, I think I've kind of got this one as a fail as well, unfortunately, which is such a shame. I remember from back in the day, this one used to be a favorite of mine, I think. But I think the times have changed. Magic is just too fast for this mana cost. It really is.
Yeah.
I guess I'll kick off the next one. Actually, what a card that I really, really like, Chasm Skulker. It's 2 and a blue. It's a creature squid horror. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Chasm Skulker. When Chasm Skulker dies, put X 1/1 blue squid creature tokens with Island Walk onto the battlefield, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Chasm Skulker.
So silly.
My boy.
I'll let you get to the good stuff, the juice about who designed it and things like that before I get all excited about it.
Sure. So clearly, I feel like this has got to be one of Wizards' favorites here, because this card, still staying at rare, has had 7 reprints since its days in Core 2015. Its original designer was Mike Newman, the creative director behind Borderlands 2.
No wonder why I like this card so much. Borderlands 2 is one of my favorite video games ever.
There you go.
Nice.
Fish, hit us, man. Like, I don't think it's any secret to say that this is probably the banger of the 15.
Oh yeah. I totally agree, and I run this. It was printed in the Bumbleflower precon, and Miss Bumbleflower puts counters on things, draws cards. This thing, I've had this thing as like a 15/15, and then someone board wipes, and now guess what? I've got 15 1/1s with Island Walk who are just going to be swinging freely. Because most of the time we've got blue at the table. It's really, really crazy.
Like, seriously, the best design cards that impact our format the most are the ones that reward you for just simply being here. And what do all players do during their turn?
Draw cards.
Untap, upkeep, draw.
Right there.
Easy. Are you drawing cards? Fantastic. You're getting value out of Chasm Skulker.
Bingo. And who likes to touch cards most? Blue players.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely. This also fits the boxes as well of like it's +1/+1 counters. So that's synergistic almost everywhere. It can become a big creature. That's really good for stompy decks. It is basically board wipe proof, because if you get it big enough, you're going to rebuild in a heartbeat. The only true way to stop this is bounce, because even if you were to exile it to something like Swords to Plowshares, depending on how big it is, you just gained all that life back as well.
Yeah. I guess a Path to Exile is probably the best answer.
Yep.
Or like an Oubliette.
Oubliette, Banishing Light, Cyclonic Rift.
Yeah.
So like there are answers to this, but man, like
it feels rough burning them on a 3-drop. That's not like a commander or something.
Especially when it's early in the game and he's only like a 4/4. It's like, well, what's that? And then like 2 turn cycles later, he's at 15/15, and it's like, oops, what just happened?
I have learned that Chasm Skulker is pretty much kill on sight.
Yeah,
you have to before it gets too big.
It's like Scute Swarm. Just kill it.
Especially in the manner is like the way that Bumbleflower puts it out is I'm drawing so many, like that deck draws so many cards, and it also puts +1/+1 counters on there, so it's got extra synergy. It just gets really big. Like turn 1 you play a Hardened Scales, and then it just goes from there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, phenomenal. Fish, where's your rank on this, friend?
I gave this S tier. Like,
so did I.
Top of the line, the bee's knees, everything.
Yep, I'm at S as well. Like, without a doubt, I feel if not the top, it is absolutely tied in the top, I feel like, amongst this list of the Designer Series cards. Easily one of the best hits that came out, not only of this cycle of 15, but probably out of Core 15 as a whole. Let's move on to our next card, which is Cruel Sadist. A single black mana for a 1/1 creature human assassin. It has 2 activated abilities. For black mana, tap, pay 1 life, put a +1/+1 counter on Cruel Sadist. And then 2 and a black, tap, remove X +1/+1 counters from it, and she deals X damage to target creature. Only hits creatures, does not hit face. This is fine. Like, it's interesting that it can come down early, and it also does not matter where the +1/+1 counters came from, but the fact that it only goes creature does kind of suck. This card has had 2 prints, though. It's had its original, and I believe there's a Jumpstart version. So it's
Jumpstart 2022.
Jumpstart 2022. Thank you. He's got the facts behind me. Our designer here is Edmund McMillan, who is the game designer behind Adobe Flash Icon Games' Super Meat Boy and The Binding of Isaac.
Oh, okay.
I am loving this little section of this. Like,
right.
I like seeing what these game developers and how like their cards that they design like look like. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words with this one, because like it reads strong in like you just pile 1/1 counters onto her and then you can just shoot something down, but like there's other cards, especially in black, that can just they can just tap and destroy a thing. And if you're loading this up with 1/1 counters, you're probably swinging with it anyways, right?
Yeah, like why would you be tapping it to remove counters from it, unless you're like running the Ozolith or we're in Rakdos with all will be one, but of course that's printed almost a decade later after this. I mean, this almost feels in like build like a Future Sight card, where it's like we're gonna put some abilities on it and then maybe later it'll be useful, and it just kind of never did.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe in like a shell where you're able to untap during your off turn, I suppose. Like you could go a cycle, be like, oh, it's an opponent's turn. Seedborn Muse, put a black, pay a life, now it's bigger. Then it goes to the next person, oh, pay a black, blah, blah, blah. Like,
and also takes a color.
I still feel like there's better things to be doing for that mana in black, and even in like Golgari, you mentioned having green. Like I feel like there's just so like better things to be doing than trying to put +1/+1 counters on your Cruel Sadist to then remove them just to target a creature. I mean, if you can give it Death Touch, maybe it's kind of a cool thing where you just have to, you can remove one +1/+1 counter and it deals 1 damage and it's killing something. But that's really the only way that I saw it being like good.
It requires so much extra stuff to be kind of good. It's
kind of stupid that I feel like the best parts that I like about this card is that it's a human assassin, which are those are two pretty cool creature types, especially since last year we had the Assassin's Creed set that really bumped up the amount of support that you could do with assassins. And then obviously humans are on almost every plane in the multiverse, so like there's always a home for humans. So like, I don't know, like I don't think this card is incredible, but there could be some build around merits around it, truthfully.
Also for like assassins, like 1 black 1/1,
that's really good.
Well, for a 1 black 1/1 assassin, I'd rather have Changeling Outcast.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Because it's also unblockable.
It wants you to get damage through. This is like, okay, well, you then tap it and put a +1/+1 counter on it.
I agree wholeheartedly.
I wish
it's so slow.
It's very slow. I wish it got counted. If it had a different way to put 1/1 counters on itself, we might be having a different conversation.
If it behaved like Chasm Skulker and got a +1/+1 counter every time a creature died.
Ooh, that's nice. That'd be super cool.
To me, that's totally within the realm of a rare.
I mean, spoilers. We'll be getting down to Obnixilis later, but if she acted like Obnixilis, that would be amazing.
That would be incredible, but she doesn't.
As it stands, though, definitely not a favorite of mine. I'd say this is probably a D.
It's landed an F tier for me.
Yeah, I put D as well. My note said, seems like Avernus Amulet to me. Like, it's not very good.
I've got Genesis Hydra, and man, I love Hydras. So, Genesis Hydra, X green, it's a plant Hydra creature. When you cast it, you reveal the top X cards of your library, and you can put a non-land permanent card with converted mana cost X or less from them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. And then it's a Hydra, so it enters with X +1/+1 counters. This is cool. Like, I love it when I'm a dirty Simic player. I love BOGO cards, man. I want to get one. Give me some value. Let me put 10 into this. Flip out Galta or something. I don't know. Something stupid.
Very, very clearly here, the inspiration is Genesis Wave, but it's also stuck onto a body, which I feel like counterbalances that, right? Like, Genesis Wave gets you all the things at your X value, whereas this, you only get one permanent, but you also get a big beefy boy to come with it.
Yeah. And some +1/+1 counters to go with that as well.
Yes.
So here's some interesting fun facts then for you. I believe this card has had the most printings of all the cards we're talking about today. It has been printed 8 different times, including this one. It's original.
Yep.
And its designer is George Fan, the original game designer behind Plants vs. Zombies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I love it.
That makes sense.
Which is why this is a plant.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's perfect.
Which that's cool. Like, plant creature type. Yeah. But Hydra though. Hydras are cool. I mean, I have a Zexara deck.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't run this in it because of how it works. With that deck being X spell typal mostly.
Yeah.
Would really suck.
Yeah, Genesis Hydra's a real strange one, right? Because like your immediate home that you would think of would be with other Hydras, but it's really bad with X spells because it only gets permanents. I mean, it'd be cool if you hit one of your like support pieces off of casting it, but like 9 times out of 10, you may accidentally hit some of your other Hydras.
The coolest commander that I saw when I was doing the research for this was Shishiro the Shattered Blade. I thought that it would be crazy in Shishiro. You cast for like X equals 5 and you get to go get an equipment.
Yeah,
and it's right there. It just works out perfectly.
I mean, or anything like dinosaurs, Cascade decks would love this.
Oh yeah, Emoti would absolutely go crazy over this thing.
Yeah, anything that cares about the mana value that you are casting a particular spell at. We've had this conversation before with stuff like comes to mind is things like Kozilek's Unsealing from Modern Horizons 3, a card that says, hey, if you've cast a spell within this parameter of mana values, you get Eldrazi Scions. If you cast it at this mana value and higher, you get 3 cards.
That's
and
really cool.
Flexible.
I like that a lot.
Flexible spells like this. One of my other favorite aspects about Hydras, specifically cards like these here as well, they are amazing with the cheap power creature tutors. We're thinking like Imperial Recruiter and friends, because he can go into the library, find this because its power in the deck is 0, and then it's in your hand to have the X be whatever you want it to.
Yeah. Really cool card. Honestly, it fits in a ton of places. Most recent printing was OTJ in a precon. So it is absolutely still 100% viable.
Got that precon right back there.
Yeah. There are places I would run it, not in the dead nuts like, oh well, Hydra's dead. No, not there. But I can see plenty of places. I mean, as just a mana sink for a landfall deck or something.
I agree.
So cool card. I gave it an A.
Fish?
I gave it a B myself.
Yeah, I think I'm right with you guys as well, of say like a low A. I feel like low A, high B, because I agree on your points. It while the synergy it can do is powerful, you could run into situations where the permanents that the cards that it flips off the top just do not help you. Also, if you have not ramped incredibly hard, this is not going to be a terribly big X spell,
Yeah.
So
it's definitely not one you want to play early.
Definitely not. So it's a late game card, and especially if it gets countered, you put all that mana into it and then it doesn't do anything. So
feels real bad.
Big time. Big bads.
Definitely still an all-star though. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah. I'll take the next one. We've got Goblin Kaboomist. I love the name. It's 1 in a red. It's a goblin warrior. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a colorless artifact token named Landmine onto the battlefield with red. Sacrifice this artifact. This artifact deals 2 damage to target attacking creature without flying. Then flip a coin. If you lose the flip, Goblin Kaboomist deals 2 damage to itself. And he's a 1/2. Yeah, that was my reaction to this.
Goblin friends be doing goblin friend stuff.
Yeah, goblins are goblins, right? They might not be the smartest people group in the universe, but that's what it is.
All right,
man, there's a lot of them.
Can I paint you the picture of this set if you weren't playing during here?
Yes, please.
You had Core 15 that did have some goblin cards featured amongst them. You open up your pack. It's a red rare. You could open this. You could also open Goblin Rabblemaster. You tell me which of the two of these goblins sounds more powerful.
Goblin Rabblemaster. Absolutely.
Oh, no. Kaboomist is a sweet little boy. I'm a big fan of him. Kaboomist has been printed twice since his original printing here. And its designer is Stone Librandi, I want to say that is. Stone Librandi, I think that's right. A chief game designer for Riot Games, who are the team behind League of Legends.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He feels like a minion.
Yep, he definitely feels like a minion.
He feels like a minion.
Just going in there, trying to hit your tower.
Doing his best.
I like the intentions of this card. It's a goblin that does cool things. If he was like a 1/3, I'd be a lot happier with him, especially with him bringing in artifact tokens that there's synergy there that can be met. But just with the fact that you lose that coin flip, he's gone. It kind of it kind of almost nullifies that cool thing for me. Yeah, it just doesn't seem that great to me.
Yeah, it's such a shame because he makes a unique token. There have been no other cards that have made the same landmine token that he does.
Yeah.
He is alone in that, and that's very cool because like, how often do we get new artifact tokens? You know, we've been spoiled now recently with things like clues and blood and map and especially treasures. Back in Core 2015, you just didn't get artifact tokens. That wasn't really a thing. Like, treasures didn't exist back then. We had like gold from Theros. Gold.
Which I had to fix.
Yeah, that's kind of it. So like, back in the day, if you were looking for unique tokens of some kind, Kaboomist was kind of your guy. But yeah, even then, like immediately what I'm thinking of is something like there was a commander deck from March of the Machine. I think it was Gimbal, and he cared.
Yeah, Gimbal.
He cared about your different tokens that you had. So like, this little guy would be fun maybe in there because it's like, oh, where else are you going to be able to get landmine? Nowhere.
Yeah, so Gimbal Gremlin Prodigy.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool.
I like Goblin Kaboomist because, okay, one, I don't think he lands really well in mono red, but I think in at very least Groll shells, he's really interesting. Particularly Groll artifact shells, because those decks have a lot of ways to boost power. And you give him one extra toughness and he can't kill himself. Excellent. But yeah, getting a guaranteed artifact at the beginning of every turn is busted.
Yeah. The fact that the landmines don't need to tap to do their thing, like,
yes,
you can
tappable artifacts.
You can use them for cool stuff like improvise or
unwinding clock,
and things like that. Like anything that allows you to tap an artifact or just a permanent, and then just you can pay the red into it and, you know, throw it at an attacking thing that without flying.
Yeah, like I think it's super cool. We get really weird if you had like displaced dinosaurs or something.
Oh yeah, really weird. Holy wow.
You get him every turn. Oh, by the way, you get a 7/7 dinosaur that can pay a red and it blows itself up. But that means you can take out a 9/9.
Yeah, that's man, that you guys kind of convinced me to move it up a little bit. If I'm being honest with you, I had it at a D, and I think I'm going to move it up into the C range, just with that little bit of boost from you guys in our conversation here. It's better than I thought it was.
Blasty Boy here gets a B from me.
I think I'm with you, Fish. Though, yeah, I think I'm going to have this at a C as well, because I think so far, from the list that we've gone through so far, I think not incredibly high, but I feel like this is the first card that I think has gotten better since its printing, right? Since, like, now we are in a commander era where basically our favorite thing we talk about here is rectangle theory, you know?
Yep.
So anything that puts you rectangles down into play nowadays has practical use. We thrive in a community now that's like basically anything that you can put down in play, no matter what its intended purpose is, has use. I think that the whole sacrificing it to deal damage, the landmines part of it, I think that's the worst part of the landmines. I think the fact that it is a uniquely named artifact token that you get every turn, if you can keep the Kaboomist alive, is something that could be worth considering for a deck that is looking to do something like that. But speaking of unnecessary cards that I probably like more than I probably should, we move... Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to introduce to you Hot Soup!
Hot Soup!
Hot Soup!
Yes!
Hot Soup, boys!
Oh,
Here we
man.
go. A 1-mana artifact equipment. Equips a creature for 3. Equipped creature can't be blocked, and when the equipped creature is dealt damage, destroy it.
The flavor text on this is a 10 out of 10. Coming through.
Coming through! Oh, it's amazing, boys. I tell you, like, Unblockable is... all right, I'm going to get into my reasoning of why I think that this card is severely underrated, but let's go over some fun facts real quick. This card has had 2 printings since its original. Its original designer is James Ernst, I think. Ernst or Ernest, one of the two. A founder of a board games company, Cheap Ass Games. He has made standout tabletop game experiences like Unspeakable Words and Kill Dr. Lucky. So this is a board game designer.
Okay. I've never heard of those games, but...
Nope, neither have I.
I've played Kill Dr. Lucky before, actually. Okay. It's kind of like it's like a puzzle strategy game. Like, you and opponents are in a house, and this man is walking around the, like, board game area, and you are also walking around. Like, you're trying to set up a situation where, like, you and this character, Dr. Lucky, you're trying to get you and him into an isolated area where no other player can see you, and you make an attempt to kill him. But he has perpetual luck on his side as well. So, like, you try to kill him and he doesn't, and that's where I sort of feel like the design of this card is coming from. That, like, you are
feels like it.
You are putting these high stakes onto a creature that, like, this creature that you equip onto the hot soup, you know, nothing's going to be able to stop it until somebody is able to touch it. Then it goes down instantly. And I love that. So, like, here's my reasoning behind this. Okay, so let's take Blasphemous Act out of the picture here, and even Blasphemous Act is worth in consideration here. How often is there just damage pointing down at a creature? Not terribly often. In my experiences, the things that are taking creatures off the table are either bounce spells, which are not dealing damage, or wraths, which they were going to die to anyways.
Yeah.
I feel...
Yes.
No, go ahead.
I agree with you, John, big time, actually.
Yeah, like, I mean, I guess, like...
There's not a lot of non-combat, like, direct damage that's happening, and he can't take combat damage.
Yeah.
Like, the creature wouldn't be able to take it, so it's hard to, like, be like, well, why not include this? My creature is going to get through for free and probably remain there until a board wipe happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've played against a decent number of decks that either do, like, fight mechanics or other types of pinging damage. That's usually... I think it's that we see that, like, that pinging damage isn't usually directed at creatures because it's not particularly useful. But so it's normally directed at face, but then suddenly you'll put hot soup on something, and now it's like, okay, now you've made it a valid target.
Right, but
like,
that...
You know, so, like,
that's the that's the high risk, high reward that I'm talking about. That, like, you kind of really... The stars kind of really have to align here to be in an unfavorable situation. And then I suppose really for, like, the person who would be including this in their deck, like, you're probably not going to be equipping this onto a creature if you see those types of cards are down on the battlefield, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
not without some sort of protection, like hexproof or something like that, where something can't be targeted.
Yeah.
Because board-wide damage like that doesn't happen. Like, Earthquake's the only thing that I can think of, and that's, like, creatures without flying.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Like, are there situations where your creature equipped with this on it is going to take damage? Yes, absolutely, right? Like, people play these kinds of cards. Does it come up often? In my experience, very unlikely. Because, like I was saying, the things that are going to be killing your unblockable creatures anyway are killing everything regardless. So who cares? That's
fair enough. Yeah.
That's kind of where I set with that is personally. I've run Hot Soup personally in several different shells of mine, in, like, Voltron builds, in equipment builds, in like very like a melee or myriad style thing as well, where like you're trying to get a bunch of creatures to hit everybody all at once. Like, this is a great card, and we don't get tons of equipment that provide unblockable, because like the biggest boon that equipments give over auras is that, like, when that creature would die, if it had an aura attached to it, that aura is going with it to the graveyard. Equipment are very powerful because unless the equipment itself is disposed of, even if you had it attached to something beforehand, it's still on your battlefield to go try again, you know? Everybody's commander typically goes back to the command zone, so you just slam your commander back down, try again. Yeah, as a whole, I'm probably way higher on this card than I probably have any right to be, but I am going to give this an S, personally.
I gave it an A.
I gave it an A++. Like, that's close to S. It's right there. Like, if I were to get some of the swords, like, I'd probably replace it. But, like, I don't have them. It fits well in where it's at.
This is a type of Magic design that I just love too much to hate on. I love the silly fun things that Magic can do. I got Master Predicaments. That is a 3 blue, so 5 mana Sphinx creature. It does have flying. It has wings. It has flying. Meets that test. And then whenever this card deals combat damage to a player, choose a card in your hand. The player who got hit chooses whether the card's converted mana cost is greater than 4. If the player guessed wrong, you get to cast that card without paying its mana cost. And that's a 4/4.
Sphinx riddles!
Sphinx stuff. Like, that's not awful.
The flavor in this is like an 11 out of 10. It's a Sphinx. It's got riddles. Like, what?
Flavor is amazing. I love sub games and mini games in Magic. And it's just, you know, hey, that's a 50% shot to cast some big dumb blue spell in your hand,
or 50% shot to cast something dirt cheap as well.
Correct.
You know? Like, your opponent thinks you're gonna put a big bomb into play. Nah, I have Ancestral Vision. Whoops.
Sorry, little bomb.
Sorry.
It's Ancestral Vision. Yeah, sure.
It's too bad, though, that this is the only printing of Master Predicaments. It has not had a reprint yet. Its designer is David Serlin. He was a CEO of Serlin Games, one of the creators behind a fighting game series, Fantasy Strike.
I've never heard of that.
Never heard of it.
I've never heard of this either, so I'm not sure where the Sphinx correlation comes in through, but that's our boy David, and this is Master Predicaments. Like, he's so cool, dude. I love mini games. I'm like Joseph, you know, letting people play the mind games on, like, what your spells are doing, you know? Like, you have no way to know if the person connecting with you is like, are they gonna try to cheat down a big, dumb, stupid spell? Or they just gonna try to get, like, small card draw value, right? Mm-hmm. Like, let's say you're holding Rhystic Study, you know? Like, do you bluff them into thinking you're gonna do a big dumb blue spell, or are they gonna let you get down Rhystic Study for free?
Honestly, I think more often than not, if I was playing this, I would go for under 4s, baiting that, like, ooh, it's big. Because you guys have played against me, know the decks I run. You understand I love baiting and social engineering in my decks. And using that concept of, like, people are going to think, most people are going to think they're like, baseline concept is like, oh, they're going to use this to cheat something big out. Most of the time, choosing more than 4 is probably the answer to at least stop them from getting an omnipotence for free.
Yeah.
Omniscience. Like, I don't want, the only time I want you casting omniscience is for free, is for, like, its actual cost. A free also, nobody ever plays omniscience fairly. No one ever hard casts that.
I think what I love most about this is the sort of brain games that end up being played on both ends of the party, right? Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, as the opponent who has gotten connected, you have to take the shot in the dark of, are they going to try to play something mana value greater than 4? But then you, the controller, you get to, over the course of the game, you get to play brain games with everybody else. Mm-hmm. Like, how often am I gonna pick 3? Are they gonna think my entire deck is under 4 and then whoops an Eldrazi? You know what I mean?
Honestly, I think that's the best way to play it. First few times, make it cheap. Either prove them wrong by like they pick 4 or greater, you flap it out, or you do the thing that you can't do. You can always just reveal cards in your hand. It's like, I was gonna cast this. Be super open, super friendly, and then the last time, they're like, "It's lower than 4." They're like, "Nope, Ulamog."
I was gonna say Ulamog too, actually.
Well, I mean, even Galta, just Galta.
Bing, 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 bing,
Kozilek,
Omniscience, stupid. Enter the Infinite, even.
Oh wow, yeah, that'd be great.
It's amazing that like if you, the controller, if you get to hit your spell, it is a cast. So anything you've got that's a cast trigger, excellent.
Bingo. Like it's just so fun and so cool, and the theoretical ceiling on it is so high. The only detractor is that this comes down on turn 5.
Yeah, but I don't think it could come down any cheaper,
No, it can't come down cheaper for what it does. But thing is, I have to consider worst case. If you're on mono blue, chances are you can't give it haste. Coming down on turn 5, not doing anything until turn 6. Hopefully they don't have a blocker. So really
does
high.
Have flying. That's a good thing.
Does have flying. Really high theoretical ceiling, but you got a lot of hoops to jump through from there. So for me, it couldn't come in above a B.
That's where I put it as well. And I think that because it's just really cool in like a casual setting where you're like not trying to up the power level, you're at that slightly upgraded pre-con and you're trying to have some fun at the table. We're not all trying to do the fun degen things that we like to do. You're not going to find it very useful in those types of games, but it would be so much fun in like your Kroos deck Chase, where you're sitting down just playing and having fun, and like all of a sudden you're like, hey guys, like I dropped this down and now you've got more.
What's it gonna be?
Yeah, like it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I feel like casual fun is a very good way to describe what this card is all about, and especially with how decks have been constructed nowadays, like depending on what kind of deck you would throw this into, your entire deck could meet the criteria of being less than 4, but your opponents may not know that at the time, It just like it just feels fun. It's a fun type of card. Like, we don't get lots of really good Sphinxes either, Most Sphinxes are pretty mid at best. So having a very fun one like this, I'm with you. I'm kind of at like a B on this as well. Yeah. I've wanted to get one of these at some point along the lines of, I own the copy because my wife bought the secret layer of it. There is the Esper legendary creature from the Doctor Who secret layer. I believe it's called like the Eternal Toy Maker or something like that.
The Toy Maker, I believe.
The Toy Maker.
Just the Toy Maker.
And all he cares about is whether your opponents have made piles or done guesses, and that's what this Sphinx does. Is like when they
that's cool.
Yeah, when they make a guess, they'll take damage at the end of their turn as well. So this would be a card that would go into his deck.
The Celestial Toy Maker.
Oh, the Celestial Toy Maker, excuse me. I don't know Doctor Who. You all know this. Well,
are we ready for Ob?
Are we ready for Ob? I don't think any of us are ready for Ob.
Nobody's ready for Ob.
Hit us with the big boy fish.
All right, Obnixilus Unshackled, 4 and double black. He's got for a 4/4 legendary creature demon. He's got flying and trample, so flample. Whenever an opponent searches his or her library, that player sacrifices a creature and loses 10 life. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Obnixilus Unshackled.
Respectfully, what a bastard.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like, what?
Oh yeah.
Like the what this card is doing in comparison to everything else on this list is just so heinous.
Oh yeah. It's very bad.
Especially with this being our first legendary creature on the list as well, the fact that this could be your general as well is obscene.
Yes.
And
you know, if someone's running this in the command zone, the whole deck is just full of just awful, terrible, hurtful, hateful cards.
your favorite opposition agent would be in there.
Opposition agent and Bounty Voidwalker. Everything that just says F you.
All the heinous baloney.
Ob Nixilis Unshackled has had 2 printings since his original, and the designer is Brad Muir, the game lead designer on video game titles like Brutal Legend and Psychonauts.
I've heard of
Psychonauts,
Psychonauts.
okay. Yeah. All right.
Interesting. It's interesting that he came up with a demon as his as his card.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, the whole mind bending, I guess.
Yeah. I think this card's really cool. You know, it would be a fun little commander to run like a bunch of hate-bearing black stuff that is in there, and like, but other than that, my only problem with him is if he's in the 99, he's just a little expensive to be putting out when people are going to be searching their library. You know, if you can somehow discard him and then reanimate him.
Yeah, he's a great reanimate target.
And like people are then like you do that on turn 2, people are searching their decks on turn 2.
Yep.
All the time. And like, guess what? You don't have a creature anymore, and now you're down 10 life.
You want to crack that fetch land? You want to take 11? We'll do that? Sure.
Take 11. Take 11 and a creature.
Yeah.
And what do you get out of it? A land?
Yeah. Great. What do you do with it? I got 4. I've got a 5/5 now.
I think here's where I am with him is that if he even did not have the library searching clause on him, that he was just a flying trample that when any other creature died, got a +1/+1 counter, I still think this would be good, right?
Oh, 100%.
He sees the battlefield and he sees tokens. Like, that's dope. That's amazing.
Good luck, Aristocrats player. Have fun.
Yes.
But that's the thing about Ob Nixilis is that the more high power a game scales to, the more that second ability becomes relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if I was running a Nala into this, I would have to remove him before I did anything.
Yep.
Exactly. I personally have this in my wife's build of Kalia of the Vast for the same reasons as you were describing, Fish, of like reanimating him super cheap. Let's get Kalia down super early, swing in. Oops, here's Ob Nixilis. Now
here's Ob Nixilis. No one searches their libraries.
It's Ob Nixilis with a steel chair.
Well, because like also the thing is like this is in an era of design where they were still mostly designing for 2-player.
Mm-hmm.
2-player, like this is half of your life total.
Commander became popular in 2011, right? That's when the first inception of their precons was. So that's when they started kind of doing it.
To piggyback on you, Chase, like even for Commander, 10 is still a 4th.
That's a quarter of your life total. Like it's a disgusting amount.
That's a significant payment to search your library.
And that card better win you the game.
It has to.
And to backbone off of your idea as well. It's like, okay, let's say we are doing Ob Nixilis the fair way, where he's in the 99. Maybe you've tutored him and you've done like mana rocks or so. So maybe he's down on turn 5, maybe. Like
totally viable.
Certainly people have lost some life by then, maybe. So at some point, his 10 life tax plus the creature that they would have to sacrifice, at some point you're just going to stop them from searching their library entirely.
Yeah.
Because they either die to that ability or they die to him in combat.
Yeah. I play Toxtrel, which is a 7 mana 2 black, and like that deck is built in a way where I can theoretically have that down before turn 4.
Right. I'm sure a black deck could be able to, Black's got Dark Ritual, we've got Crypt Ghast, we've got Reanimate, we've got Demon Tutors.
Or even Crick. Crick helps pay 2 of that with your life. You can pay 4 life with it. I've got him in an A tier. Very, very solid A. I think that just because the mana value is up there so high, he doesn't get the S tier.
I put him in S tier, mostly because I personally play a lot of high mana value commanders, and I know factually that's like you can get these out way before that clock is saying you can.
I think I'm finally going to be the one that breaks, and we're going to do our three-way difference. I'm going to say Ob is a B, only just because this is definitely not a casual card. I feel like you're getting somebody new learning the game. This is a hate piece. He's certainly strong. Yeah. He's strong. I really do like him. If you're not doing the cheating thing into play, and you're like, you can't play this at a casual table, I don't think. No. At least not without discussing it ahead of time. Like, is he the most busted black oppression piece there is? No, of course not. But could a new player see this as oppressive? Absolutely, I feel like. Yeah. So, yeah, for me, I don't think he gets higher than a B. Let's talk about Shield of the Avatar, another equipment. This is another 1-mana equipment, actually. This one actually also used to be another favorite of mine, but I think it's fallen out of favor. Shield of the Avatar is a single mana for an artifact equipment, equips for 2, and if a source would deal damage to the equipped creature, you prevent X of that damage, where X is the number of creatures you control.
It's
neat, right? Because it's equipped.
It's a magic card.
Yeah, if it's equipped to a creature, then you always have one creature, so it always does at least something. It prevents at least one damage if you have one creatures, but it's cool that it can do something really, really wide if you have a big wide board of creatures.
You know what it does?
What does it do?
It saves Goblin Kaboomus from himself.
Yes.
We did it, boys.
Yes, that's hilarious. I love that so much.
Oh man. Shield of the Avatar unfortunately has not been printed at all since this printing. This is its only print. The designer of this is Richard Garriott. He was a game designer for the franchise Ultima. I think it's fine, you know, if you're looking to try to get in with a creature specifically, and you got yourself a board of like a space, this is an amazing card for tokens. I feel like
you guys know what I'm thinking. You guys know exactly who I'm thinking.
What are you thinking of?
Arabella.
Oh,
that makes her attack for free every turn.
Yeah, more or less, because it's damage prevention back, which is like we don't get lots of that on creatures much, you know. It's not indestructible, obviously, but it kind of this card reads in a weird way that like your creature gets a toughness boost equal to the creatures you control, but it's worded in such a way that the damage is prevented, which is cool because
it's like anti-trample tech.
It's also anti-death touch tech, which is also very cool. Anti-death touch, anti-first strike, you know, the things that could kill your creature no matter what its own toughness directly was. Preventing the damage is very, very sweet, honestly. It's anti-lifelink, I suppose, as well, technically, because they can't chump with a lifelink creature either, because the damage
it prevents it. Yeah.
It does a lot of cool things, but it's also on the baseline that you have enough creatures for it to do the thing.
Right, and that's kind of like anti-synergy with itself, because it's like the rectangle theory thing is like, if you've got a big board of creatures, you know,
does the Shield of the Avatar matter at that point?
Probably not. This is a win more card, I think. Definitely.
Yes. It's like your fifth equipment that's a protection piece.
I think
you're really digging
it.
You know, you've
it does very, very cool things, but I don't think it's for every deck.
The only place
it's definitely very niche.
I could see potentially running it in Bess.
Yeah, I said in my notes I have Arabella and Bess as the two decks that I would run it in, because you're always attacking with Arabella, you're always attacking with Bess. Why not prevent some of that damage?
I would personally, I would put this in Thalion the Gitrog, because that's also how my build is done as well. Thalion the Gitrog always want to go swinging, and I make tokens in that deck as well, so that would be a great fit for that deck.
Yeah, but also 1 mana with a add 1 more mana to the equip cost. That could be hot soup.
It could be hot soup. You're right.
It could be hot soup, and hot soup is definitely better than Shield of the Avatar.
Yeah. Overall, I think I'll give this a B. Like, not awful, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to buy it.
It got a C for me. C's passing grade.
Yeah, I'd say B minus, like that low B range, just because I could only think of 2 decks I wanted to put it in.
Yeah,
off the top, like, and that was it. And I feel like it needs to be either an Obnixilis bomb or like something that has a little bit more utility.
Oh, right. I got something weird here. I got Spirit Bonds. That's a 2 mana enchantment, 1 and a white. Reads, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay white. If you do, you put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So useful spirit tokens, unlike the ones you get off Forbidden Orchard. And then it says for 1 and a white, sacrifice a spirit. Target non-spirit creature gains indestructible until the end of turn. So this one's weird because, like, you generate, you make the spirit tokens, you can protect things, but also every time this happens, it costs mana. And colored mana at that. That's where it kind of gets... It could be higher for me if it wasn't for the colored mana requirements.
Yeah.
To do what it needs to.
But I think this would be too busted if it just made free tokens off of casting.
I wasn't saying like free tokens. Like, hey, make it generic mana.
Generic, yeah.
Yeah, just 1 generic.
Or maybe...
So you can pay it with a soul ring.
Or maybe lock it to once a turn. Like, if
lock it to once a turn. But, like... Oftentimes, like, okay, this comes down on turn 2, turn 3. If it's in a mono white shell, white's already usually kind of not going to be like up on mana particularly. You're very much playing 2 curve and saying, okay, I'm going to boost the cost of my curve by 1.
Like, I don't know. Yeah.
I think the decks it wants to be included in are going to be decks that are spending all of their mana. And not leaving mana up, and if the mana is being left up, it's for something like a Tef Pro or like something along those lines that's going to keep your board intact because you're going wide and you want to keep it.
This has been the only print of Spirit Bonds. It has not been reprinted yet. And its designer, Justin Gary, is the founder of Stoneblade Games, the creator of board game series Ascension.
Ascension. Have I heard of that?
I'm unfamiliar.
It's like a tabletop miniatures kind of thing, I think. Okay. Don't quote me on that, but the thing that I like about this card is that it's the split abilities on itself making its own tokens, and then its activated ability is just separate from the thing that makes the spirit token. So Spirit Bonds does not care where the spirit came from. If you have if you have this just sitting down and you've got spirits coming out from other sources, this is now just an enchantment that can just sit here, and that anytime you need to, throw a token under the bus to make Kaikar indestructible. Make your I think there's a creature Kaya or something like that makes spirits as well, but make her indestructible. Or I mean, I guess you wouldn't be able to target Millicent, but like anything else that is putting spirits down in play. Yeah. And it also doesn't say non-token spirit you can sacrifice either. So if for whatever reason you need a actual card spirit like in your graveyard for whatever reason, like you could do that. This would sacrifice a boy into there and do some loops from the graveyard maybe. Like I think it's neat. I think the spirit generating itself that it does, I think, is the weakest part of this card. The fact that you can just throw any spirits into it is very cool.
Yeah, it's definitely like it has a lot of utility. I think particularly in like lower power commander decks, where you're not like really hunting down efficiency.
But that's just good advantage in those kinds of decks too. Like, you know, even though it is colored mana that you're paying to do these things, like it's just good advantage to help boost an engine, but not boost it into like a Ferrari, you know?
Yeah. And for a social engineering dynamic as well, it's gonna put people off trying to target your stuff. It was like, well, you know, it's like he effectively has a counterspell sitting on the field.
Yep.
What I do actually also think is kind of neat. I don't know how often this kind of thing would come up, but the trigger to generate you tokens by paying the white only does care that when a non-token creature enters the battlefield, not on cast.
That's
so
true.
I suppose there is a shell here somewhere of like blink, a thing out, a thing in, pay a white as your creature enters.
Oh, dang it.
You know, something like Peregrine Drake, you know,
something like Peregrine Drake or Peregrine Drake. You're already making infinite mana with that.
But the infinite mana can now go into this, and then you make infinite spirits.
That's true.
Yep.
I'm also thinking like Petlaza. Petlaza Blink.
Yeah.
Anything you put a teleportation circle into.
Yep. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking teleportation circle. Like you're doing that no matter what each turn. Why not have a payoff?
Abdul Adrian would like it actually.
That's a pretty good one as well.
Like it's definitely got places.
This is the thing. I think this is another one like Kaboomist that I think because of the cards that we've gotten over the last decade, I think this has gotten better.
Yeah, it definitely has.
100%.
In 2015, no. In 2025, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I can see it. Definitely not like a first pick, but
one of the cool commanders that I saw in here is in a Winota deck. It just gives you free attacks with Winota. It's like it creating those spirits gives you free attacks with Winota, and like then you have the ability to make even more spirits that have her trigger even more after that.
But also what doesn't break Winota?
Yeah, you know, you break her with a stick, so it's all good.
Chase, where you landed on this one?
It landed in B for me.
Same for me.
Because there's a ton of like flexibility to it.
But I'm with you. I think this is about a B for me. Honestly, maybe even a B minus. To be honest, borderline.
It was low on my B scale.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's it's not something that's doubling your tokens like an Anointed Procession or anything like that. So it's not anything crazy, but it can be very useful and very good in particular spots. Right, I got the next one.
Yeah, speaking of not useful, let's just plow through this guy real fast.
Yeah.
Take us away,
Warden
Fish.
of the Beyond, 2 and a white, creature, human, wizard.
Lord.
It has vigilance. And then the next text reads, Warden of the Beyond gets +2/+2 as long as an opponent owns a card in exile. It's a 2/2. You know, maybe the best part of this might be the flavor text. He draws strength from a vast source few mortals can fathom, which is cool.
That's cool.
And kind of it kind of like works in with the exile thing, but it's just not that good.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to add with this guy here. Like I suppose it could be cool that he could come down as a 3-mana 4/4. And
that's
with vigilance, cool.
Welcome to Draft Chaff, buddy.
Yeah, I bet he was useful in draft.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that was
I bet it was awesome in draft.
Oh man, I bet it was very good.
In looking at it through the lens of 2025 Commander, I'm just like, he's a wizard.
This is the kind of thing that you would see in Jumpstart.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, it's just not good.
So just before we all give it a fail, just want to say that it has only ever been printed here in M15, and its designer Isaiah Cartwright is the founder of ManaWorks Games, the creators behind the game series Guild Wars.
Oh, okay. Guild Wars is fantastic. I've played it. It's a lot of fun. I actually own all the expansions except for one.
Nice.
Yep.
So does Guild Wars care about like ethereal souls? Is that where this is coming from?
100%. Yep.
So there
There's
you
a
go.
lot of that in
Makes
that.
sense.
There's a lot of like that mystical type stuff like that in there.
All right. Well, there we go. There's where the inspiration comes from.
Okay, I will actually say I gave this guy a C.
Oh, you
just
did?
because of the fact that like white is very good at putting things in exile, and a 4/4 with vigilance isn't like terrible.
Yeah, I guess
It can apply some pressure, but
yeah.
it's not amazing.
I'll probably line with you. I don't think this is fail, but I think it's only a D for me.
If you were really, really needed it as like a 29th or 30th creature in the deck, sure.
I mean, I gave it an F. I don't like this card at all. It would be, if it was included in a precon, it would be one of the first things that I cut.
Oh, yeah.
And like it's just, it would sit in my bulk bin down here until maybe I found a spot for it, or I gave all those away or something.
Yeah.
Well then, who's ready for the exact opposite of useless? Boys, let's
roll.
Let's talk about Waste Not.
Oh.
One in a black for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent discards a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever an opponent discards a land, add black. And whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land, draw a card.
Just what?
Can you
He's 2 mana.
Out the gate, this was designed by the Magic community. Can you tell back in 2014 everybody loved Thoughtseize?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Right? Funny enough, Core 15 would have actually come after the original Theros block, which Thoughtseize was in Theros.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, the timeline for when this card would have been designed could have possibly lined up with that.
Yeah. Like,
so interesting.
It's
mean,
a good card.
I was gonna say, yeah, like, do we need to go in depth as to why this is good? Like, are you playing anything that makes your opponent lose resources from their hand? Congratulations, you get rewarded for it, no matter what the card is.
Oh, goodness. The hit on Waste Not after a windfall?
Dumb.
Oh, man.
I think you win the game, genuinely, from that point.
You're going to create a decent amount of mana. You're going to draw a bunch of cards, and you're probably going to create like 6 or 7 zombies.
You want to know what the standard was at this time? Core 15 was legal with the original Khans of Tarkir. You know what a deck you could do was? Waste Not on turn 2, Dark Deal on turn 3. That was a mono black that you could do. Dark Deal is kind of like Windfall, except everybody goes down a card from what they discarded.
Gross.
But not you, because
not you. You get to draw cards.
Yes, sir.
You get to do all this BS.
That is broken.
Of course, the Magic community designed this. Like,
oh yeah,
we can't help ourselves.
Since Core 15, this card has been printed. This has been printed 4 times total, including this one here, the original.
Yep.
And I mean,
printing being Enchanting Tales.
Yep. I just think it just goes without saying that it's just like now. I think if we have to talk criticism, I suppose, about it, it's just like I don't think this is auto include powerful. No. I think you you have to be doing the stuff that makes opponent discard cards, because chances are they are not going to be running their own cards naturally to discard cards. Can it come up? Yes, absolutely. You could have somebody that's just randomly playing Faithless Looting or their own Windfalls or things like that. Those cards do come up in Commander, but if you're not built around it as an idea, I don't think this is auto-include, but it is still incredibly strong.
Yeah. That's honestly where I landed. Like, if you do just the tiniest bit of building around this, you crack some stuff wide open. But on its face, you play this, and you are waiting for your opponent to discard something.
Yeah, technically speaking,
And-
this is a do nothing enchantment.
Yeah. And like in my head, you guys know how I build. I am never giving my opponents power over my stuff. Now, if I were to play Waste Not, it would be in Wheels.
I agree.
Oh yeah.
And I am legitimately considering putting it in Sauron.
Yeah. Overall, I think Waste Not for me, it definitely lands at probably the highest A that I can give it.
Yeah.
I don't want to give it S just because it's not auto-include like Chasm Skulker. Chasm Skulker was my S because I don't think it matters what you are doing. You're drawing cards in a deck with those colors. Chasm Skulker is good for you regardless.
Yep.
Waste Not, I think you have to have it built into your deck as an idea. So high A, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. Wholeheartedly. My notes say zombies ... rise.
Oh, this in Nekasar?
Oh,
Oh.
yuck.
Anything. Actually, the other way, you could do Wheels, forcing discard, or mass force draw.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, so that they have to discard
They
the
have
hand
to
size.
discard.
Yeah.
Or play the stuff.
I would also
But-
like to casually remind you all that Turgrid is a card that came out after this.
Oh. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, that works.
yeah. Turgrid. That's right.
Let's move on.
Gross.
Oh,
That's
God.
disgusting. Hate that. And man, we are going on an up down here. The next one is Zathrid Slyblade. 2 and a black. It's again a human assassin. 2/1. It has hexproof. And then for 3 and a black, until end of turn, Zathrid Slyblade loses hexproof, gains first strike and death touch.
It's cool. It's of the two
It's
assassins
of the two.
we've
It's
seen.
the better of the two. Absolutely the better of the
100%.
two.
100%.
Like how often does black get hexproof? Almost never.
Yeah.
Almost ever. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's cool. I like this card.
I
Yeah.
guess I was thinking like, yeah, black doesn't get hexproof much. It gets everything gets ward a lot now.
True. Fair.
Yeah.
Which is fixed hexproof, I guess. I don't know. It's just I want to like it, but it's a 2/1 for 3 starting off. That it has hexproof
Cool.
until the moment it needs it. The exact moment where it needs it, it doesn't have it anymore.
But it's like the flavor of it is like it waits in the
flavor
shadows.
is so good.
Yeah, it waits in the shadows and then strikes when it's opportune,
Yeah.
right? Because it does that cool synergy that first strike death touch does, which if you're not familiar with how that works,
Just kills it.
kills.
If the opposing creature does not have first strike, yours applies damage first, and you can assign death touch lethal before yours would receive damage back. That's incredibly cool. That's what makes every Glissa like annoyingly hard to fight against, because every Glissa card naturally comes with that.
Yeah.
But I like it. I mean, it's very average to me, and the only reason why is because, like, if you're playing this on turn 3, you've got to wait a turn cycle to be able to block something.
Yeah. And then it uses
could
all
be
of your turn 4 mana.
Yes, then it uses
All
all
of
of your turn 4 mana to do that. But if this is something you're drawing later in the game, or playing later in the game, I think that it climbs up a little bit. You know, if you've got 7 mana and you only want to play the one creature, you keep up, the 4 mana for that. You could, quick flip someone and get rid of a big creature that is hitting you out of a surprise.
But also in 7 mana slot for black, that could be a living death.
Yeah.
That could be that could be Omnixilus.
I really just think outside of the activated ability it has, I just really love the fact that it is just a monocolored black creature with hexproof. And again, back to what we were talking about before, a human assassin as well.
Yep.
So this is a better of the 2 assassins that we can now start including in our assassin's deck. that naturally
You put hot soup on Zathrid Slyblade.
She's gonna douse
love
you
it.
in that invisible soup.
Great.
I'll just the fun facts on this then real quick though is unlike like a lot of this list as well, this has been the only printing of this card in M15. And designer Rob Pardo is a former chief creative officer from Blizzard Entertainment.
Okay. Yeah,
and is executive creator on Hearthstone.
Oh,
I have too many hours on Hearthstone. Back in the day before it was when I got away from Magic, I played Hearthstone. That's what I did.
I mean, he was Ben Brode's boss for a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think this card is neat. Chase, where do you land?
It landed in C tier for me. It's not a fail, but also it costs so much mana to do this. It's just a lot.
It is.
That's exactly what I said. It takes a lot to kill someone to kill a creature. It's an average blocker, but way too expensive, and it's only average because it's so expensive.
Yeah,
to do the thing.
Yeah, if this was cheaper, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say let's flip the bill, right? If we could get this, the cost of Cruel Sadist, maybe with the same ability, right? 1 mana,
absolutely.
1 mana, 2/1 with hexproof. That then for 4 mana can do the jump from the shadows kind of thing. This would be 100%. Amazing. This would be a great card.
With the fact that it's on your turn 3 slot as well. There's better things to do on turn 3 than drop this guy.
Yep. All right, so I'm with you. I'm with you guys. I think this is a C as well. And we move on to our last card.
Last but not least, I hope I'm saying this right. Yi-San, the Wanderer Bard. He's 2 and a green, legendary creature, human rogue. So he's got an ability
human
2
rogue,
and green. And
human rogue bard. Actually, he did gain bard in an errata.
Oh well,
no, yes, he does have the bard printing.
Which makes sense because bard's in the name. But 2 and a green, you tap him, you put a verse counter on Yi-San. And you search your library for a creature card with a converted mana cost equal to the number of verse counters on Yi-San. Put it into the battlefield, then shuffle. Anytime you're able to take a creature from your deck and put it on the battlefield, it's crazy. It's very, very good.
Bonkers.
Pod stuff. Yep.
Pod nonsense.
And you're already in green, you got your Seedborn Muse. Time to do this multiple times in a turn cycle. You get to do it 1, 2, 3, 4 times before your turn, before your next turn, and then you've just got a board. Mm-hmm. I thought of it in my Bonnie Paul deck where I could just go on the first one. I go get Rune Crab. Sorry guys, I've got a Rune Crab now. It's very awesome to just go get those 1 mana bangers that will just tear the game apart.
Mm.
It's very cool, very cool. Yi-San has had 4 printings since his original here, and its designer is Brian Fargo. I think I said that right. Yep. Founder of Interplay Entertainment, the original game developers behind Fallout 1 and 2.
Oh.
We all know how much Fish loves Fallout. So
yeah, we do.
If there is an episode where I did a bunch of research for that, if you guys want to check it out.
Honestly, one of my other favorite fun facts I love about this card as well, I think this one has one of my favorite arts of all the cards that we have looked at today, mostly just because of the fact that just the ingenuity of this guy here is that he has made himself that harp out of the mandible of the bug that's behind him. That's so
cool.
That's so neat.
It's just cool.
The antennae are the string. Mm-hmm. That's why he's able to summon the creatures as is, because he's using a bug loot or whatever. That's so neat.
If there's one thing these Designer 15 cards did right, was the flavor. Every single one of these is so flavorful.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
I agree. Yeah. But Yi-San as a whole, again, our second legendary creature. So practicality in the 99, practical as your commander as well. What do we feel?
As commander.
Just do big green dumb stuff? Sure.
I lost my first CDH tournament game to Yi-San.
Yeah, I remember you explained
the
it
command
briefly.
zone?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Huh.
Because
wound up with just infinite untapped creature grabbing shenanigans.
Sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you said it's like a pod chain of some kind that he goes gets a thing.
Yeah, it's effectively a pod chain that it winds up being. And I remember I left that game frustrated because there was another guy playing Tally and Oops all counterspells who didn't do. He had a Mind Break Trap in hand the whole game and just never stopped Yisan.
Yeah.
Oops.
So there's that. I'm not bitter about it.
It's been a month and a half.
It's been a minute. But yeah, like he's totally viable in the command zone in CDH. I would say anywhere. If he's in the command zone, you're not playing casually.
Nope.
Because you effectively have a birthing pod in the command zone. But
I don't know how strong that is.
Yeah, like. Ugh. And the thing is, it's a counter, so that's proliferatable as well. So you don't have to strictly just go straight up the chain. You could get a verse counter on him, proliferate a couple times, then bam, next time you tap for 3, you're getting a 6-drop.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Or bubble flower shenanigans.
Yep. Also not restricted to sorcery speed either. So even if you are doing the fair thing with him, just like, oh, at your end step, I'm gonna. It's very like what's the card? Elvish Piper reminds me of, right? Piper is like a green tap, and you can put a creature into play. Quicksilver Amulet's kind of the same way as well. Yeah. He grabs out of your library. So yeah, so just any time that's useful to you, like. Toolboxing your deck in such a way that like whatever creature is most useful to you at the time is an amazing way to do a deck building, right? It helps, it encourages flexibility as you play. You have access to exactly what you need in whatever situation.
Yeah, and I will say, like with Yisan, it's very difficult to interact with this because it's not a spell, it's a creature ability. So you either have to remove Yisan before they do it, or have a stifle effect, which outside of like actually competitive tables, you don't see very often. Except for, I think, more like the thing you see most nowadays is Tishana's Tidebinder.
Yeah, Tidebinder, we get it.
That's a stifle.
Tidebinder is sick against Yisan because then he loses the ability.
Yep.
That's cool.
S tier.
Yep, I get S tier as well.
I'm gonna do A. I think I don't love pod cards. Like it's a little too big brain for casual play, I feel like. So like people are gonna look at this and be like, oh, I can't go and get this parameter either above or below. That just like that's not worth in my 99. And somebody will they'll see this as the commander, and if they're not built in a competitive way, it's going to be just Yisan fair from the command zone, and that usually won't win games. So I don't know. It's a me problem. I know that for certain, but pod as a strategy has never really been a favorite of mine. So I'm gonna do a low A for Yisan. But there we are.
Yeah,
we've hit the tail end, and that is
we did it.
That was a long one, boys, but we made it. And to all of you potentially still listening, I hope you are. You know, this was a little bit of a longer one, but we'd love to hear back from you on what your favorite of the designer series cards are, or I don't know, let's just broaden it out to M15. Let's talk about M15, or just these designer ones, like. Which of these are your favorites? Or if you were to see if we were to see this type of card, like if we were to see this type of thing come back again in another set, like who would you want to see designing a card? What kind of styles would you want to see? So drop us comments in the video, or I guess you could do comments on Spotify as well. You know, I check those every once in a while, but so again, to you all, share down below what you are, what your favorite cards are. That was almost English. Can you tell we've been rambling for about 2 hours?
Been yapping.
Yeah. So Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. We appreciate you listening and watching, and we will see you all next time on the next episode of the MTG Thoughtcast. My name's John, been joined tonight by Chase and Fish, and we will see you all again real soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye.